Good morning to all of you. Just good afternoon, actually. It's a great pleasure to participate in an event with the title Victory Day, because victories are always to be cherished in life. Normally, a Victory Day involves, as the Colonel here knows, military triumphs, march pasts and fly pasts. Today, we've begun to celebrate the victory of culture and of extracurricular activities in your wonderful school. I was delighted to hear of the extraordinary success of the students of Silver Hills in the recently concluded Kalolsavam that the Kerala state government conducts every year. Inside the classroom, where it becomes important, and I say this with great respect to all the teachers, it becomes important not to teach the children what to think, but rather to teach the children how to think. Because ultimately, that creativity, that imagination, that ability to say to the teacher not just why, but also why not, that is ultimately what's going to mark that child's success in the world of the future. There's been a recent study by the Oxford Martin School that said that 30% of the jobs in the world by 2030 will be jobs that do not exist today. That's how fast the dizzying speed of innovation, of invention, of technology is moving, so that new opportunities are being created literally by the week. And those opportunities, because they don't exist today, you can't easily prepare for out of a textbook. Because by the time your textbook has been printed, new opportunities and new ideas have come up that didn't exist in those days. And that's why it becomes so important to be able to know how to think differently, to think, in that famous expression, out of the box. What is the box? The box is the conventional wisdom. When you ask a teacher or an elder a question and they say, "Don't ask me questions, that's simply the way it is," that's the box. You're supposed to think within that limit. But when you think out of the box, you ask, why can't it be something else? There's a very simple example I'm fond of. Thank you. Because I need glasses very occasionally and only for distance. So because I don't need them most of the time, I often took them off and often forgot them. Or I would put them on a table and leave them behind, or put them on my lap if I'm wearing a munda and there's no pocket, and then they would fall down when I get up and somebody would step on them. And this became a congenital problem, because I remember in one year, in the first 3 months of the year, I managed to lose or break 6 pairs of glasses. And I was complaining to a friend about this habit of mine and the terrible expense of constantly having to get new glasses. And he said, "Why is this?" And I said, "Well, because, people don't think out of the box." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, look, for 150 years, glasses are made to sit around you hang around your ears and rest on your nose. And I find that very uncomfortable, and because I only need them less than 5% of the day, the other 95%, I don't want them on my nose and over my ears, so I take them off, and that's what happens." He said, "But you're wrong, people are thinking out of the box." And he went away, and a few weeks later returned with what I'm now wearing around my neck. What's that? Well, it's a pair of glasses. It just doesn't look like the glasses that you've seen most adults wear. What happens to people like myself who are short-sighted and therefore need glasses for distance is that I have no problem reading the names on this program or seeing the people in the front. But if I have a doubt about whether I recognize a person in the back, I need glasses. So what do I do now? I just pick them up off my neck, click them together in place. There are magnets at the end of it, and I can say hello to the friend at the back. And then I've done that, I can again unclick them, and there they sit. That's called out-of-the-box thinking. Yes, for 150 years, glasses were made in a different way. But they can also be made like this. And when we make them like this, then people like me who are forgetful and careless can just hang them around our neck, forget they're there, and remember them only when we need them. That's the kind of creative thinking we need all the time in the world. We need people, in the famous lines of Bobby Kennedy, who don't just look at the world and ask why, but who imagine a world that never was and ask why not. That, to my mind, is a matter that's very important to all of you. And part of that is fulfilling your creative potential. Whether it's in dance, whether it's in music, whether it's in speechifying, whether it's in art and drawing, whether it's in any other kind of activity that takes you out of the normal confines of your schoolwork, all that is what develops your personality and makes you a more complete human being. Albert Einstein once wrote a letter to a school in Brazil which was unearthed many years after his death. And in that letter, he had one simple question to the students. He said, why be a chicken when you can be a lark? A lark, as you know, is a high-flying songbird. A chicken stays on the ground and clucks. Don't be a chicken. Try and develop your personality, develop your talents, and believe me, every one of you has some talent. Sometimes we don't take the trouble to find out what it is. Sometimes we think we might have a talent, but we don't have the courage to attempt to develop it and show it to our friends. This school clearly provides you an opportunity to see how good you are. And one of the most important things for a young person growing up is to know themselves, to know what they're capable of. If your parents are driving you to always get the highest marks in school and come first in class, I would say to your parents, maybe your child has that talent and needs to be driven, but maybe that's not their talent. Maybe their talent is the 100-meter dash. Maybe their talent is Bharatnatyam. Maybe their talent is to sing a good song that uplifts the hearts of people. Maybe their talent is just to make their friends laugh. Maybe their talent is to be the kind of person others turn to when they are in distress, the friend whose shoulder is always available to cry on. All these are special gifts that God has given each and every one of us. It's extremely important, it seems to me, for all of you to recognize that in school life, the child is growing up into being the woman or the man of the future. And if India is going to have good citizens out of all of you, you need to be complete human beings who know what you're worth, know what you can do, try to do it, and try and be the best you that you can possibly be. Nobody else can be you. So you just find out who you are, what you're good at. You've got all of your school time to establish that. And then don't let yourself down. Be the best version of you that you can possibly be. You know, ultimately, the great human beings of the world are ones who challenge themselves, who took on impossible odds, who imagined the unimaginable, who changed all sorts of things in the world around them. This school was founded, of course, by the CMI order. And the CMI order was established by a great human being, the first ever Indian male saint, Saint Kuryakos Elias Chavara. But he wasn't born a saint. He was born a young kid in a family like all of you. What happened with him? He saw the world around him and he decided he wanted to make a difference, the things he wanted to change. And he saw the way forward as being through education and schooling. What Saint Chavara did was to extend the benefits of education and schooling to the poorest of the poor, the most marginalized people in our society, the community we today call Dalits. He not only taught them, he taught them things that were close to them in the past, like the Sanskrit language. For many, many centuries, Sanskrit had been the monopoly of just one high caste. Instead, Saint Chavara found a Sanskrit teacher, learned it, got the teacher to teach Dalit school children Sanskrit. He discovered early on that he had children coming to his class whose families couldn't afford to feed them. They needed to put these children to work so that they could afford to eat. So he decided to offer them food at school midday. It's so amusing to see people contesting today who is responsible for the midday meal program and its big success in India. Is it MGR in Tamil Nadu who thought of it first? Is it the communist government in Kerala? Is it the central government in Delhi? Everyone tries to claim credit for the success of the midday meal program. That's unfortunately far too late, because the first man who offered midday meals in school started doing so 190 years ago in the 1830s, and that was Saint Kuriakose Elias Chavra. So we have to understand that these great people became great because they did things that no one had thought of doing before them, but they did things that benefited others. They didn't do things just to be different. They didn't do things just to benefit themselves. They did things to make a difference to the society around them, the people around them, the world around them. And that's the kind of person we need in our world, in our society, in our country today. So as we celebrate the victory of all these wonderful creative talents at Silver Hill School, as we celebrate the joys of being in a school which encourages and facilitates accomplishments like this, let us also celebrate those who sacrificed a great deal and toiled, like Saint Chavra and the many others who followed him in the schools around the state established by Christian missionaries and later by others that have brought education, knowledge, hope, and good citizenship to our people. Let us pay tribute to them, even as we congratulate all of you for your remarkable accomplishments. And let me say to the young people, you will go very far. Take every moment of your life and make it count. Let this be a special period of your life. Many of you may think that school is tough, and the discipline and the homework and the schoolwork and everything makes it very hard. You look forward to your holidays. Some of us felt that way even in our school days when we become parents later, but when we were kids, we've also thought like that. But believe me, when you grow up and become older people, you will look back on these days with an immense amount of pride and satisfaction, because these days at school is what made you the person you will become. Good luck to all of you. Congratulations on Victory Day, and I'm very proud to have inaugurated today's special event. Jai Hind.